Happy New Year, motherfuckers! Welcome to the first Muttering with Mule of 2017. This week I'm going to discuss why my poor little science fiction heart sank at the prospect of the recently announced Blade Runner 2049. And why they should leave the franchise, if you can even call it a franchise, the fuck alone. Fucking pricks.
I think it is important to make it very clear that Blade Runner is my favourite film of all time. I fucking love Blade Runner. Funnily enough, the Blade Runner video game, developed by Westwood Studios and released in 1997, is also my favourite video game of all time. But we'll talk about that in a bit. For those of you that aren't aware, but I don't see why you wouldn't be, because Blade Runner is the best effing thing of all effing time, Blade Runner is a 1982 science fiction movie based on the Philip K. Dick novel Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep. It was directed by Ridley Scott and stars Harrison Ford, Sean Young, Rutger Hauer and Daryl Hannah. It is set in a dystopian Los Angeles in the year 2019, and Harrison Ford is a special police officer called a Blade Runner. The task of a Blade Runner is to hunt down illegal synthetic humans called replicants, which are genetically engineered life forms indistinguishable from humans that are used off-world as slave labour. Harrison Ford's character Rick Deckard is brought out of retirement to hunt down a team of Nexus 6 replicants, which basically means these replicants are some right double-hard bastards. And the rest of you can see for yourself when you see it if you haven't already seen it. But you must watch it. In fact, if you haven't already watched it, I want you to pause this video right now and go watch it. Go on. Off your fuck. I'll wait. Did you enjoy it? Of course you fucking did. Right. So what makes this film so chuffing amazing? Everything is the answer. When it comes to direction, this film is an absolute masterpiece and truly shows Ridley Scott at his finest. He creates a living, breathing world which genuinely makes you feel like you were there, with unique set designs and one of the greatest movie soundtracks ever created. If this movie didn't create the atmosphere that it did, then I really don't think it would be considered the classic that it is today. For me, the best films are ones that make you notice something new each time you watch it, and Blade Runner never ever fails to disappoint on this. I have lost count at the amount of times I've watched this movie, and I regularly find myself questioning my previous opinion on characters' motivations or drives, and you feel that you need to watch it again and again for clarification. You may have noticed that I have not yet made any references to the performances of the actors. This is because, with the exception of Rutger Hauer, there is very little to shout home about if I'm going to be perfectly honest. The tone and atmosphere is really what makes this movie shine, and honestly the acting really takes the back bench in this instance. But that being said, the speech by Rutger Hauer at the end is absolutely fucking top notch.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched C-beams glitter in the dark near the 10-house gate. All those moments will be lost in time, like tears in rain. Time to die.
One of the other great things about Blade Runner is the questions it leaves at the end of the movie. The ending of the movie depends on which version you watch, but I think it's safe to say that the director's cut and the definitive cut are the ones considered to contain the true ending. These endings strongly suggest that Deckard himself is a replicant, but the movie never comes right out and says it to you. It kind of relies on the audience to figure it out for themselves. This is going to be very important in the issues I'm going to point out with Blade Runner 49 shortly. And one important plot point that I haven't yet mentioned is the fact that the replicants have a 4-year lifespan. They're limited to a 4-year lifespan. That becomes important, so just remember that when I get to my rant a little bit later.
My birthday's April 10, 2017. How long do I live?
4 years.
More than you.
But before I do get to that, I want to quickly talk about the game, because this is primarily a gaming channel. Also, some of you Blade Runner fans out there may not be aware of this sexy little gem of a game.
Indulge me.
Blade Runner the video game is the fucking bomb. It is a point-and-click adventure game released in 1997 and developed by Westwood Studios, the long-missed bad boys of the late 90s that brought us such greats as Command & Conquer and Lands of Lore. Blade Runner the video game, just like the movie, is set in LA in 2019, but this time the story revolves around another Blade Runner called Ray McCoy and his investigation into a recent pet shop massacre, which quickly escalates into a team of replicants' hunt like that of the movie. It features many of the same characters and locations as the movie, with even some original cast members reprising their roles. It perfectly captures the darkness and claustrophobia of the movie thanks to the great work of Westwood Studios and the use of the original soundtrack by Vangelis. A very clever move made by the developers was keeping this story almost completely separate from the movie. While there are recurring characters and locations, not once do you cross paths with Deckard. The only times he is mentioned within the game is on a bulletin board in the police station, and there is also an instance where you see the back of his head in a photograph. And it's great because it does not interfere with either of the great narratives from the video game or the movie. This is primarily a story-driven game which I believe greatly influenced the likes of Quantic Dreams with Heavy Rain and Beyond Two Souls. This type of game is certainly not for everyone, but in my opinion, Blade Runner the video game is a true forgotten great, and certainly deserves a lot more recognition than it received. This game is also one of the first games I ever played which included multiple endings depending on how you play, and they were quite drastically different, unlike many modern games which market themselves as having multiple endings, but then they only turn out to be slightly different. I hope what I've said so far gives you an idea of my true love for Blade Runner and how important this is to me. And what I'm now going to say is my own opinion, and I'm in no way trying to influence other people, and if you don't agree with me, then that's fine. Just don't get your knickers in a twist, okay? Good. Now,
Indulge me.
what the fuck is this shit? Seriously, what the hell? Oh, okay. Okay, I'm sorry. I can talk about this calmly. I really can. Oh, why has this film been made? There are some films that do not require a sequel, and this is most definitely one of them. And I'm sure you can tell I have very strong doubts about this film. I honestly believe that this is an attempt to cash in on people's nostalgia, which seems to be becoming ever more and more common in cinema these days. And this could have a serious impact on the original movie. I know that we have only seen a teaser so far, but let's talk about what we do know about the movie. The synopsis for the movie on IMDb and Wikipedia is as follows. 30 years after the events of the first film, a new Blade Runner, LAPD Officer K, played by Ryan Gosling, unearths a long-buried secret that has the potential to plunge what's left of society into chaos. K's discovery leads him on a quest to find Rick Deckard, played by Harrison Ford, a former LAPD Blade Runner who has been missing for 30 years. So this strongly suggests that Deckard was in fact not a replicant, which would be a direct criticism of what the director's cut and definitive cut established, And it also takes a shit on what Ridley Scott has previously confirmed when he said that Rick Deckard was a Nexus 6 replicant. But let's just say that maybe Deckard still is a replicant in this story. That means he has far exceeded the 4-year lifespan given ordinarily to the Nexus 6s by the Tyrell Corporation. In the original movie, Dr. Tyrell told Roy, Rutger Hauer's character, that this could not be extended due to their genetic structure, and of course, at the movie's climax, Roy succumbs to this and dies not at the hands of Deckard, but of his limited lifespan. So does that mean that somehow the 4-year lifespan does not apply to Deckard? I kind of hope not, because for me, part of the reason that Roy becomes a sympathetic character at the end is because there really is nothing he can do to continue living, and when he finally accepts this, he accepts his own death and saves Deckard. If it turns out that the 4-year lifespan could be extended, then it questions why Tyrell didn't do so for Roy in the first place, as it could have saved a lot of bloodshed and potentially could have saved his own life. Perhaps this long-buried secret discovered by Officer K, Ryan Gosling, is how to extend a replicant's lifespan. Who knows? I have suspicions that this film has been built around Harrison Ford and the studio feels he needs to be included in the movie. Hence the fact it is clear that Deckard is one of the main characters and the time-lapse matches more or less to how Ford has aged in real time. If the studio felt the need to make a new Blade Runner film, why couldn't they do what the game did? Create a brand new story with a new Blade Runner but within the same setting. It could have included nostalgic references and visits to the same locations, such as the police station or the Bradbury building, to fulfill those nostalgic needs. Heck, they could have even done a Rogue One and included some of the same characters in CGI. Just don't try and carry on a story that left such a memorable ending in the first instance. It simply is not necessary. Of course, this is all speculation on my part, and I could end up being completely wrong. Blade Runner 2049 could end up perfectly complementing the original movie and greatly enhancing its already amazing story. And I promise you that despite all my complaining and ranting, I really do hope that I am wrong. And if I am wrong, I will gladly eat my words. Please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments about Blade Runner 2049, the original movie, or even the game. I would really like to hear what you guys have to say. So yeah, thanks for listening guys, and I'll speak to you again next week.
Thanks for watching the very first episode of Muttering with Mule for 2017. If any of you are interested, after putting this video out, I'm going to be doing a full playthrough of Blade Runner the video game. So yeah, if you are interested in that, then please be sure to stay tuned for that, bitch. Also, in my previous video, I mentioned that I'll be part of a brand new collaboration channel called Daydreamer Gaming. Daydreamer Gaming features regular content from myself and other content creators in the forms of regular videos and streams. So if that is something that you'd be interested in, then please be sure to check that out. I still don't know how to end these videos. I still haven't figured it out yet. Fucking subscribe.